Hey everybody, I'm Bigger Gayer Magic, and tonight on our live deck building, we're building Arbaaz Mirror. He was printed as a legendary Boros creature inside the Assassin's Creed expansion. And he says whenever he himself or another historic permanent enters the battlefield, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. We're going to have a bunch of life gain triggers, we're going to have a bunch of impact trimmers like effects. We're gonna play a bunch of treasures as well. Treasures are gonna give us a lot of value in this deck. It's gonna be a good time. Yeah, so that's Arbaaz Mirror. Whenever we get a historic permanent entering the battlefield, we do 1 damage to all of our opponents, and we gain 1 life. Hey everybody, if you're just now joining, we're building Arbaaz Mirror. He was printed in the Assassin's Creed expansion, and I think a great place to start with this deck building, because we care about a lot of historic permanents entering the battlefield, I think Anim Pakal would be a great include. Anim Pakal is a 3-drop Boros legendary creature, human soldier, and whenever a non-gnome creature attacks, Anim Pakal gets a +1/+1 counter, and then she plops out that many attacking 1/1 colorless gnomes. And because the gnomes are artifact creatures, they're all historic, which is going to generate a bunch of triggers off Arbaaz Mirror, because our commander, Arbaaz Mirror, says whenever a historic permanent enters the battlefield under control, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. Hey everybody, if you're just now joining me, I'm Bigger Gayer Magic, and I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic the Gathering videos. But on lives, we're doing community deck building. This is Arbaaz Mirror. He's our commander for tonight. He says whenever an historic permanent enters the battlefield, we do 1 damage to each of our opponents, and we gain 1 life. If you guys have any suggestions for our Boros historic deck, please put them in the chat, and we'll get them into the deck. You can see all the community suggestions at Bigger Gayer Magic on Moxfield. He is busted! A guy exists. Arbaaz is busted. It says non-token. Alex, you're correct. Yeah. Non-token historic permanent. Okay. Well, I'm wrong. Alex, you've earned this follow. Take this. I appreciate the correction. We're still gonna play a bunch of historic permanents. We're gonna blink some stuff. So now that we're going for a blink strategy, we're gonna play the Panharmonicon. The Panharmonicon is a colorless artifact that doubles our ETB triggers, and because Arbaaz cares about ETB triggers, this is going to go great. We're going to get 2 Arbaaz triggers for each non-token historic permanent that enters. Yeah, Alex, you are correct. It is a bummer, but I'm so... Have you played Anim Pakal? Anim Pakal is great. I love Anim Pakal. Thank you very much for the follow, Bean. I appreciate it. I'm Bigger Gayer Magic. I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic Gathering TikToks. On lives, we do community deck building. Tonight, we're building Arbaaz Mirror, and he says whenever a non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield, each of our opponents loses 1 life, and we gain 1 life. So, let's talk about Felwar Stone. Felwar Stone is a little 2-drop rock, and it taps for mana of add 1 mana of any color that a land your opponent controls could produce. I really enjoy this thing. This thing's $1. It's a good little 2-drop rock. It's great in multicolored decks because you're going to have multiple opponents in Commander that'll help make this thing tap for your colors, hopefully. Dude, is there any artifact creatures that enter blink? Yeah, there absolutely are. There's Solemn Simulacrum. Solemn Simulacrum does great. Let's pull up Solemn Simulacrum. Solemn is a little 4-drop golem that enters. It's a 2/2, and when it enters, you find yourself a basic you put onto the battlefield tapped. It'll also trigger our commander, which is great, because it's an artifact, and artifacts are historic. It's a great little piece of ramp for this deck. Yeah, Felidar Guardian. Let's pull up Felidar Guardian. Yeah, here's Felidar Guardian. This is a 1/4 cat beast that was printed in Aether Revolt a couple years ago. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile another target permanent you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Thank you very much for the follow, Amara. I appreciate it. Oh, Amara, thank you for the suggestions as well. We're gonna get started with that Helm of the Host. If my computer will cooperate. Helm of the Host is a little legendary equipment that was printed in Dominaria. a few years back, and at the beginning of your combat in your turn, you create a token that's a copy of the thing it's attached to. It has equip 4, but the token isn't legendary, so you can use the Helm of the Host to make multiple copies of your commander. It does a lot of work. It's a $9 card. It's very cool, though, and having it on your commander feels real good. Highly recommend. Also, if you put it on a historic permanent for our purposes, it'll give you your triggers off your commander as well. Amaro, Boros is your favorite? Hell yeah. I'm an Orzhov girly myself. Period. Hey, Period. Good to see you. Elspeth, Sun's Champion. Is this Mousespeth? Yeah, so there's a Mousespeth version of this thing. This thing's great. It's what I think of when I think of Elspeth. It's a 6-drop mono-white planeswalker that enters with 4 loyalty. It has a +1 to make 3 1/1s at a time. And they're also 1/1 soldiers, which can be a relevant creature type. And its -3 is destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. -7, you get an emblem creatures going to get +2/+2 and flying. This thing's great. They have a few. I want to show you guys Mousespeth. Mousespeth is amazing. Let's find toggle all printings. Bloomborough Commander. Have you guys seen Mousespeth? I love Mousespeth. It's beautiful. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Please load. Mousespeth. Have you all seen Mousespeth? Mousespeth is the truth. Mousespeth is only $2.50. I enjoy me some Mousespeth. Thank you for the suggestion, Amara. I'm unfamiliar with a Nexus of Becoming. Let's pull up a Nexus of Becoming. Thank you guys for the 250 likes already. Alright, so Nexus of Becoming was printed in the big score sheet, it looks like, from Thunder Junction. It's a 6-drop artifact. At the beginning of combat on your turn, draw a card. Then you may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand. If you do, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card. That's spicy, except it's a 3/3 golem artifact in addition to its other types. Okay, cool. So we get a trigger every turn that we can copy something out of our hand for free. We just make it a 3/3. This thing's also exciting because in our historic deck, if we pick something that's not historic to exile with this thing, it makes it an artifact golem, which is cool because that'll trigger our commander, Arbaaz. Arbaaz Mir, yeah. So our commander tonight is Arbaaz Mir. He is a 2-mana Boros commander, and he says whenever himself or another non-token historic permanent enters, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. If you have any suggestions for our Boros historic deck this evening, please put them in the chat. Iganjo, yeah, Iganjo is cool. This thing does trigger off legendary lands. I'm assuming you mean this Iganjo, the one that was printed in Neon Dynasty. This is Iganjo, Seat of the Empire. It's a legendary white land that enters untapped and can tap for white. But you can also channel it, which is an ability you play from your hand. You can pay 3, and it can deal 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, and the ability costs 1 less for each legendary creature you control. We're probably going to have a bunch of legendaries because we're playing Arbaaz, we're playing a historic theme, so we'll have those legendaries. Yeah. This is a great little land. It's $9. A lot for a land. We also got another Iganjo Castle printed in the original Kamigawa, it looks like. It's a legendary land, also enters on taps for white, and it also has pay 1 and tap this thing. Prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature you control. That one's a lot less exciting, but it can go in as well, because it's also historic. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. A guy that exists gets to claim recommending Mother to us. Elish Norn, Mother of Machines is a 5-drop 4/7 Phyrexian. God, let's go to printings, and now it's gonna fuck up my stuff. Okay. Printings, here. Be English. Please be English. Alright, cool. Here's Mother of Machines. It says, if a permanent enters the battlefield, it causes a trigger ability of a permanent you control, it triggers an additional time. That's important because Arbaaz Mir is an ETB trigger. It'll double our Arbaaz triggers. Permanents entering the battlefield don't affect our opponents anymore. We deny them a ton of triggers. This is going to really upset the table if we play this. It's a great card. How much is Mother? Mother is $30. $30 for Mother. Or, like, 80 cents if you proxy it. Okay. Mommy, yes. Alhammarit's Archive. Alhammarit's Archive is a great little 5-drop. It's 20 bucks. It's printed into a few precons. Like, it's printed in the Strixhaven Golgari precon, and it's a 5-mana legendary artifact. If you would gain life, you gain twice as much life, and if you would draw a card, except the first card you would draw on each of your turns, you draw 2 cards instead. It's great. It doubles your life gain. It doubles your card draw, which is great because we're in Boros, so we are hurting for card draw. Also, Arbaaz Mirror has life gain triggers stapled to him, so this will double those. And we're in white, so we can have a few life gain payoffs as well. Norin the Wary is a must. Yuimura, thank you for the suggestion. Yuimura says Norin the Wary. Thank you very much for the suggestion, Yuimura. I'm so sorry if I am butchering your name. Here's Norin the Wary. This is kind of an older school commander. It's a mono-red, single mana, 2/1 human warrior, and whenever a player plays a spell or a creature attacks, you remove Norin from the game, and it bounces itself, returns itself at the end step. It's so good. When you see Norin the Wary, you're often seeing a lot of impact tremors-like effects. Similar to Arbaaz. Arbaaz is considered an impact tremors-like effects where something enters, you deal 1 damage, but you also gain 1 life with our commander. Norin is absolutely a must-include. One of the best things we could ever put in this deck, because it's a little 1-drop, it comes out early with our 2-mana commander, and then it'll just keep pinging people every turn. It's real good. Yurimura, this is an excellent suggestion. Take this. Bam. Okay. Next. Oh, my favorite Boros card is Heartwarming Redemption. Let's pull up Heartwarming Redemption. That sounds like a very feel-good card. Heartwarming Redemption. Oh, the Gideon War of the Spark card. I remember. Spoiler alert, Gideon dies in War of the Spark, and this is kind of his representation of his afterlife. This is a 4-drop Boros instant, and it says discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards plus 1, and you gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. It's cool, it's a fun little self-wheel, it's 40 cents, it's heartwarming because the art depicts Gideon being reunited with his friends he accidentally got killed on Theros. It's nice. We miss Gideon. I don't really miss Gideon, but he exists. Day of Metal says Day of Destiny. Day of Destiny. Day of Destiny. We got ourselves a little legendary enchantment from the Doctor Who expansion. Legendary creatures you control get +2/+2. That's not bad at all. Hell yeah, that makes sense. It is itself legendary, which is relevant. Okay, cool. We vibe. Good little enchantment in Doctor Who. This is actually something I'm interested in. I got to play with a Boros Oros deck on MTG Arena. Oh, cool! What was your Boros Oros deck? Boros Auras deck. What was your commander, if you don't mind me asking? Shiz? I'm gonna go with Shiz. I hope it's Shiz. Sorry if I'm butchering your name. Alright, Eldrazi Displacer. Eldrazi Displacer. Hey everybody, if you're just now joining me, I'm Bigger Gayer Magic. We're doing some community deck building. We are building Arbaaz Mirror from the Assassin's Creed expansion. It says whenever a historic permanent enters, if it's a non-token, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. If you have any suggestions for our Arbaaz Mirror suggestion, put them in the chat. Arbaaz Mirror deck, put them in the chat, please. You can see all the suggestions at Bigger Gayer Magic on Moxfield. Here's an Eldrazi Displacer. It's a little 3-drop 1 Eldrazi Devoid creature, 3/3. You can pay a colorless and 2 generic to exile another target creature and then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Oftentimes we will see this thing go infinite with like infinite colorless mana, excuse me, and then generate enough triggers to just end a game. But it is just a good little piece of value. Mere Battlefield. Mere Battlesphere? Battlefield? We're gonna go with Battlefield, because that's what's in... Alright, we're gonna go with Battlesphere. Mere Battlesphere. Is there an F in that? Forks. Mere Battlesphere. Mirror Battlesphere is a 7-drop artifact creature mirror construct 4/7. It enters, it makes 4 mirror. And whenever Mirror Battlesphere attacks, you may tap a bunch of mirror. If you do, it gets +X+O and deals X damage to the player or planeswalker it's attacking, equal to the amount of mirror you tap in order to pay the trigger. It's very cool. It does damage. It's an older win con in artifact creature decks. This used to be a very popular card in a Brea deck back in the day. Very cool. Aeon says Sunforger. I wish I had a Sunforger. Sunforger is... Sunforger is only $3. I might have to buy me a Sunforger. Sunforger is a little 3-drop equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+O, but Boros, unattach it, search your library for a red or white instant, with mana value 4 or less, and cast that card without paying its mana cost, then shuffle your library. This is so good. This thing is so good. So, you can add instant speed, pay 2 mana, search your library for a red or white instant card, any one of them. It could be Swords to Plowshares, it can be Path to Exile, it could be Lightning Helix, it could be anything that's less than 4 mana, and then you cast it immediately, and then you shuffle your library. This thing is so good, guys. I love this card. I should buy one. I've lost to this card several times. I should really get one of these. Ooh, Zelf says Teleportation Circle. So Teleportation Circle is a cool little enchantment, I think. It's a white enchantment, and I think it's an end step trigger. If I can't spell teleportation. Okay, teleportation. Teleportation Circle is a 4-drop enchantment. And it says, at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature you control. Then return to the card to the battlefield under its owner's control. It's cool. It gives you a little bounce at your end step to get more ETB triggers. We care about ETB triggers because of our commander, Arbaaz Mir. It says whenever a non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. Hey everybody, if you're just now joining me, I'm Bigger Gayer Magic. I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic the Gathering videos, but on lives we do community deck building. If you have any suggestions for our Boros historic deck, put them in the chat, and then we can put them on my Moxfield page at Bigger Gayer Magic, and you can see all the community suggestions from tonight and every other live I've done there with a dated deck stamp, so you know which one you contributed to. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Oh, Michael King! Panharmonicon is in there already. We'll pull it up, though. Panharmonicon is a great little 4-drop, colorless artifact, and it says... I can't spell it. There's an O there. Panharmonicon. Panharmonicon, 4-drop little artifact. It says if an artifact or creature entering the battlefield under entering causes a triggered ability of a creature or artifact control, you get an additional trigger. That's great. It works with our commander real good because our commander says whenever a non-token historic artifact enters the battlefield, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. And this Panharmonicon will double those triggers. Fighter class. Hell yeah, let's pull up Fighter class. I don't know what Fighter class is. I've never seen Fighter class before. Hell yeah, okay. We got ourselves a little enchantment Boros class for 2 mana. The first step of the class says it enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand. That's great. We already put a Helm of the Host in here. We have a Sunforger in here. There's a lot of good equipment that we've already put in this deck. And then for 3, equip abilities cost 2 less. Easy, good Boros ramp, hell yeah. And then the last step for 5 mana says whenever a creature you control attacks, up to 1 target creature blocks it this combat if able. Cool. So the important thing about that last step, it says target creature. So we kind of have selective creature removal with that. That's cool. Wow, that's a $12 card. Okay. Wow, that is a lot more expensive. Fighter class is a good suggestion. Look this. Oh, Ogier Exonil. Is that the red one? That's cool. I've actually not had a chance to look at this one yet. We haven't pulled this one ever up on live before. This was recently printed in the Caverns of Ixalan expansion a couple months ago. It's a 4-drop, 4/4 legendary god. And trample, if a source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than Ogier or this thing's power to an opponent, It deals that much damage. Okay, this thing's crazy. This quadruples our damage output. This thing's awesome. Also, if it dies, it becomes this land, and then we can flip it back over for 3 mana, tap it, transform it, activate if red sources you control dealt 4 or more non-combat damage. This thing's so good. This is probably one of the best things we could have put in here. The Lumber Wolf. Thank you very much for this suggestion. Take this, Lumber Wolf. Oh, I'm already following you, Lumber Wolf. Thank you for the many good suggestions, Wolf. Appreciate it. Alright, we got a Thopter Assembly. We've been seeing Thopter Assembly a lot lately. We've built some artifact decks recently, earlier this week. Here's Thopter Assembly. It's a 6-drop artifact creature Thopter 5/5. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no other Thopters besides this thing, it goes to your hand and you make 5 1/1 Thopters. It's really good. It makes the Thopters. We probably won't have a lot of other Thopters in this deck unless we're running like an Ornithopter of Paradise or something. It comes back to our hand, we make 5 little tokens. We'll figure out what to do with 5 little flyers. The only disappointing part is like the flying tokens are not going to trigger our commander, but that's good enough because this thing puts itself back in our hand anyway. Oh, Grizzly the Gallant says the Peregrine Dynamo. I love the Peregrine Dynamo. The Peregrine Dynamo is a little legendary 3-drop construct 1/5 with haste. It has pay 1 and tap it, copy a trigger from a non-commander legendary source. And you can pick new targets for the copy. I love the Peregrine Dynamo. The Peregrine Dynamo is one of my favorite cards from the Dominaria United expansion. I love this thing. I think this thing is rad. I run it in a Hada deck, which is a legendary deck in Mardu colors. I love the Peregrine Dynamo. It's one of my favorites. Oh, Bazatoth, we just put that one in there. Thank you for the suggestion. It's also great to see you again, Bazatoth. I hope you're doing well. Peregrine Dynamo is an amazing commander, a guy that exists. Oh my god, Boromir! I freaking love Boromir. Boromir is one of... Oh my... There were so many good Lord of the Rings cards mechanically. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings lore or like world fan, but the Lord of the Rings, the people who designed the Lord of the Rings cards did such a good job. I have more commander decks from legendaries from Lord of the Rings than any other set. I've built like 5 different ones, and they're all so different, and they're all so good. Like, I love the Lord of the Rings set. Here's Boromir. He's a 3-drop legendary human soldier, 3/3 with vigilance. And whenever an opponent casts a spell, if they didn't spend mana, we counter that spell. And we can also sacrifice Boromir at instant speed to give all our stuff indestructible. And we also get a ring temp trigger, but I always forget the ring temp trigger. I love Boromir. Boromir's so good. Boromir is worth $5, in my opinion. Yes, it does go hard, a guy that exists. Ogier Tak. Yeah, Ogier Tak. Actually, so Ogier Tak is the other flip god from Lost Caverns of Ixalan we could run. We have the red one in here already. Ogier Tak is a Vigilant 6/6, and it triples our token creature output. So we had that Thopter Assembly up a few minutes ago. If we could get that Thopter Assembly trigger with this thing on the battlefield, we'd make 15 Thopters. Ogier Tak is a token tripler, and which thus makes it $35. Hell yeah. I don't know. Is it worth 35? That's hard. Aya of Alexandria. Aya, that's right. Aya of Alexandria was a character from Assassin's Creed Origins. She is Bayok's love interest, and she is a 4-drop Boros legendary human assassin 4/3 with menace and lifelink. And whenever a historic creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you create a 1/1 black assassin with menace. I like Aya. Aya goes right in here. They were printed in the same set. They both care about historic triggers. This thing itself is historic. Also, the menace and lifelink are significant keywords. I like Brion Stoutarm. Yeah, hey Aaron, how's it going? Brion Stoutarm is a commander in Boros colors. It's a 4-drop giant warrior. It has lifelink. It's a 4/4. You can pay red and tap it. Sacrifice a creature. This thing deals damage equal to the sacrificed creature power equal to the player. Thank you very much for the follow, Avery the Pan. I appreciate it. Hey guys, if you're just now joining me, I'm Bigger Gayer Magic. We're doing community deck building. We are building Arbaaz Mirror today. This is a 2-drop Boros legendary creature that was printed in the Assassin's Creed expansion. And it says whenever a non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. Thank you very much for the follow, Rock Stuff. I appreciate it. On my TikTok videos, I use green screen effects to make silly little videos. If you have a suggestion for our Arbaaz Mirror deck, please put it in the comments, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. And that's Breon Startarm. He's cool. He's very fun to just... I don't know if you guys are familiar with a spell called Fling. This is Fling. It's very cool. And also it has lifelink. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. But when you do activate this, I'm pretty sure you do get the lifelink off it, because it is Breon Startarm dealing the damage. Please let me know if I'm wrong. Ooh, Strionic Resonator. We are seeing a lot of trigger doubling. We were seeing like lots of Panharmonicons. Here's Strionic Resonator. It's one of the OG effects that if you want to copy your triggers, you would use a Strionic Resonator back in the day. It's a 2-drop artifact with an activated ability to pay 2, tap your Strionic Resonator, copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. This thing's cool. We could use it to copy our commander's trigger, but we're probably going to have some other spicier stuff. This thing is cool, though. It's great. It's just a win more card. It makes all your triggered abilities better. Or copied. It makes them happen multiple times. Be careful with tokens, you'll make the commander useless. You are right, the real Timmy. Luminous Broodmoth. I enjoy myself a Luminous Broodmoth. Luminous Broodmoth is a rad little mono-white insect with flying. It's a 3/4, and it says whenever a creature you control without flying dies, it comes back to the battlefield with a flying counter. It also has a Mothra skin, or like an alternate art. It's very cool. I love this card. It just saw a few reprints. This card used to be like 15 bucks. It's only $3 right now. That makes me really happy. If you are tired of your opponents destroying your shit, you should play a Luminous Broodmoth. Luminous Broodmoth is so good. It's the truth. I love this card. It is definitely worth $3. Grizzly says Eomir Marshall of Rohan. Oh, another Lord of the Rings card. Okay. Oh, this is the one that cares about legendary stuff dying. Okay, we have a 4-drop mono red 4/4 human knight with haste. And whenever one or more attacking legendary creatures you control die, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. It triggers only once per turn. So if someone wants to kill your commander to give you an additional combat phase, this thing's rad. It's going to work with all the other legendary stuff we put in here. It's very cool. I love this. This thing is so good. This thing is a 50 cent for almost an extra combat step every turn if someone wants to block you. Their life total's kind of low. This thing's rad. Great suggestion. Your music selection is on point. Thank you. My music selection is, I type in Ariana Grande or Chappell Roan Lo-Fi, no copyright, and then I find the uncopyrighted stuff on YouTube and I just play that. Check out the effects of Doomsday Excruciator. I'm sorry, Avery. I'm pretty sure that's the Black Duskmourn card. Because we're in deck building on Moxfield, we can't pull up stuff outside our color identity. Cadric Soul Kindler. Cadric Soul Kindler. Oh, this thing's rad! This was like one of the... I think this is a D&D card. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The legend rule doesn't apply to tokens we make, and whenever another non-token legendary permanent enters the battlefield under control, we can pay 1. If we do, we create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a spirit, and it gets sacrificed at our end step. This thing's very cool. I like this thing a lot. It's like, I don't know, I'm forgetting the name of this effect, but I really enjoy this thing. I think it's very cool. Also, something else I would think that's similar to this is the Jolly Balloon Man. Have y'all seen the Jolly Balloon Man? I have a feeling you have. This is the 3-drop new Boros commander from Duskmourn. It's the Jolly Balloon Man. He's $2. He's a hasty 1/4. You can pay 1, tap and activate him, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. Except it's a 1/1 balloon creature in addition to its other types, and it gains flying. Sack it at the end step. It's cool. It's just another way to make more complex tokens. It's very cool. Also, if we're making tokens with the dwarf from the last card and this thing, they will still be legendary, and that will be... Wait, non-token. Arbaaz cares about non-token. That's right. Whoopsie doodles. Alright. Tashar! Hell yes! I have a signed Tashar. I love Tashar. Tashar is a great little bird cleric. It's a 4-drop. It's in mono white. It's a 2/2 flyer. And whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This thing is rad. We are going to be casting nothing but historic spells, and if we lean really permanent heavily with this build, we'll be able to get a lot of free recursion from our graveyard with Tashar. We're going to be able to recur some things like a Boromir, like the Boromir that sacrifices itself in instant speed to give stuff indestructible. We can keep recurring that with Tashar. That's so good. I love Tashar. Tashar is 50 cents. I think Tashar is worth $5. I love Tashar. Oh, Delny Streetwise. Delny is very cool. Hey everybody, if you're just now joining me, I'm Bigger, Gayer Magic. I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic the Gathering TikToks. But on lives, we do community deck building. We're building Arbaaz Mirror tonight. It says whenever a non-token non-token historic permanent enters, each opponent takes 1 damage and we gain 1 life. If you have a suggestion for our Boros historic deck, please put it in the comments. Here's Delny Streetwise Lookout. It says creatures of control of power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures of power 3 or greater. If an ability you control of a low power creature would trigger, it triggers an additional time. It's really funny, that thing about low power creatures, because our commander is a low power creature and it cares about triggers. Delny goes great in this deck. Alright, bam. Hell yeah, Delny goes in. Delny is $23 right now. Plus X, where X is the number of legendaries you control. I don't know why it's not coming up. I must be having some spelling issues, I'm sorry. Heroes Podium is a great suggestion, though. Arabella Abandoned Doll is a new Duskmourn Boros commander. It's a 1/3. And whenever it attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. It's another legendary that cares about low power, kind of like Delny. It goes great with our commander. Itself is historic because it's legendary. It's also an artifact. So we do have a few artifact synergies in here, and this is going to go great. It also does a similar thing to our commander where it deals damage and also gains us life. Arabella is very thematic with this. Good suggestion. That's right. Here. Thank you, Ed Nasir. Take this. I need all the help. I'm already following you, Ed. You've already helped me before. Thank you, Ed Nasir. Here's Heroes Podium. Heroes Podium is a 5-drop legendary artifact. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other legendary you got. And you can pay X, look at the top X cards of your library. You can reveal a legendary, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. It's great. It does card advantage for legendaries. It also makes your legendaries bigger. And like we were saying, we have a lot of low-powered legendaries. We're not probably going to combat until the end game. So this thing will pump us up for that. Wait, we could steal our opponent's historic stuff and blink it for value. How do we do that, a guy that exists? Furbolg Flutist. Furbolg Flautist. I like Furbolg Flautist. It's like a 6-drop, mono-red, 4/4 giant bard. And when it enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature you don't control until Furbolg Flautist... until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste and myriad until end of turn. Myriad means that if you attack with it, you make a copy for each opponent that it could attack. So you make a bunch of them. If we steal a legendary, we'll get a bunch of his triggers off of Arbaaz Mirror. This is very cool. It's also on an ETB, and we do have a lot of ETB triggers in this deck, so this thing is just gonna be great value. Alright. Playing some battle music. Alright. Skrelv! I love Skrelv! Skrelv fills me with joy. Skrelv is a little one-drop artifact creature, legendary Phyrexian Might, 1/1 Toxic 1, can't block. But you can pay Phyrexian, which is 2 life, or 1 white mana, and you can tap him, you can choose a color, and you can give something else hexproof from that color until end of turn. It's very cool. It's like a little legendary Mother of Runes in that respect. I love Skrelv. Skrelv is $4, and I think he's worth $4. I love Skrelv. Unwanted Remake. Let's pull up Unwanted Remake. Unwanted Remake is a new card from Duskmourn. It's a 1-mana instant. It says destroy target creature, its controller manifest dread. To manifest dread, you look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put 1 into the battlefield face down as a 2/2 and the other into your graveyard. If it's a creature card, it can be turned face up at any time for its mana cost. Cool. I'm not a big fan of Manifest. I haven't played it much. Chat, have you guys played with the Manifest mechanic so much at all? I'm iffy about it. I'm still not sold. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Dusk Dawn. Yeah, Dusk Dawn is so good. I like Dusk Dawn. We've been seeing a lot of Dusk to Dawn in precons recently. It's a sorcery with Aftermath. The first side, which you cast normally, is a 4-drop white sorcery that says destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. And the other side, which is a sorcery you cast for your graveyard for 5 mana, is a return all creature cards with mana 2 or value with power 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So again, it's similar to Tashar, except to the hand and not the battlefield. It's cool, because if you need to wipe the board, you gotta wipe the board. But what's cool about this board wipe, and because we're going to have a bunch of little things that we want to be bouncing a lot, we're going to have low power, so our stuff's probably going to survive the board wipe side of this thing. Also, discarding this card if you need to is also valid, because it can be value from the graveyard. Flowering of the White Tree, Flowering of the White Tree. I love the Lord of the Rings cards so much. I really do. It's probably my favorite designed set ever. Flowering of the White Tree is 2 white for a legendary white enchantment that says that legendary creatures you control get +2/+1 and have Ward 1. Non-legendary creatures you control get +1/+1. It's $6. It's in mono white. It's really good. It makes everything a little bit bigger. The one complaint I have about the Flowering of the White Tree is that it does it asymmetrically, so you gotta use, like, dice and stuff, or you just gotta be good at Magic. I don't know if I'm there yet. I love the Flowering of the White Tree. I run it in my Dahada deck. I love it. Odric Lunarch Marshal. Let's talk about ending the game with Odric Lunarch Marshal. This thing is very cool. So, if you notice, we will be trying to play a lot of legendaries, and because of Commander, a lot of legendaries come with keywords attached now, just for the sake of being Commander viable. And Odric Lunarch Marshal says that your creatures share keywords at the beginning of combat on your turn. So if you got one thing with flying, everything flying. You got one thing with lifelink, everything's got lifelink. It's so good. This card is 60 cents. I go far to say this thing is a win con. I love Odric Lunarch Marshal. I also run this in my Dahada deck. Thank you for the suggestion. Enduring Courage. Enduring Courage. Is that a Glimmer? I like the Glimmers. I hope Enduring Courage. 3-drop legendary artifact with flash, indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, we get to attach it to a legendary creature we control, and the equipped creature has indestructible. It's a surprise indestructible card. It's rad. It hangs out on the battlefield. Alright guys, that's going to be it from me tonight. I'm Bigger Gayer Magic. I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic Gathering TikToks. And on lives, we do community deck building. This has been Arbaaz Mirror. You can see all the suggestions from tonight at Bigger Gayer Magic on Moxfield.com. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, and I hope you all have beautiful tomorrows. And you draw the appropriate amount